Today I'm going to continue with my Amiga 1200 tower series, and this is specifically the Easy Tower by Eyetech. And I'm specifically going to go into the power side of things with regards to the PSU and the power and all this, because it's just been bugging me and it needs to be sorted once and for all. Okay, so the Amiga computer and modern PSUs, and going through all this again. I went through it in the last PSU video, so I'm not going to go too much into detail with this. But in a nutshell, the modern PSUs have a minimum load requirement, and that is why they're not really suitable for things like Amigas or heck even modular synths. Those come under the radar now as well, because funnily enough, modular synths actually need the same power voltages as the Amiga. It's plus 12 volts, minus 12 volts, and also plus 5 volts. So it's literally exactly the same power configuration that you need on modular synth cases. So I'm gonna have to go into this a bit more now. Now, with regards to Meanwell power supplies, people have been saying that the Meanwells have exactly the same issue, and they're not suitable. Yes, that was true at some point, but I did have a good look around, and there was a lot of people saying, and I did see somewhere where Meanwell on their website, they've released, I think it was after 2020 or 2021, around this time, they released the newer Meanwell power supplies, which don't have that. I need to find that actually and link it below. But the 5-volt line does not have a minimum load requirement on there. So yeah, this is interesting, and this actually makes them suitable for Amiga again. But now you see, the problem is, unaware of this, I bought a brand new PSU for my Amiga. No, I don't want that to go to waste. And as somebody rightly pointed out in the comments in the last video, I actually cut the ATX lead of it, the cable of it, and started taking the voltage lines and using them for the Amiga and all that, where I could have actually got an adapter. And yeah, that would have been a wise thing. But when you've not something's not on your radar and you've just not done it enough, and it just doesn't occur to you until someone else points it out. Well, that's one of those things for me. However, I ordered for myself one of these. Let's open one. Well, I ordered one. It turned out to be a 2-pack, thankfully. So let's take a look at it. The other one away. So the ATX power goes into there, and then out come, you can, on the screw terminals, minus 12 volts, plus 12 volts, plus 5 volts, and plus 3.3 volts, which obviously you don't need here. But the correct voltages come out here. And I just found this on Amazon. I will link this in the description below as well, just for anybody who wants it. I should have got one of these initially and not completely butchered the actual cable on that thing, because it could have come in useful for something else had I decided to replace it. But I've got another thing. Right. Eyetech's original instructions was to actually use one of the floppy cables from the PSU and plug it into the floppy port, so that the Amiga is actually powered by the floppy port. Now, I remember back then, for some reason, this was a long time ago, this was late 90s, right? 99. Yeah, when I did this, college days. Now, back then, when I did that, after using it a bit, something just didn't feel right. I can't exactly remember what it was. I remember the feeling, but not the exact actual thing. What I did back then was, I got a squared-in cable, and I connected it. I created a thingy out of it, connected it to the actual, what I've done here, basically. Now, I found this happening again. Now, this time I can explain what's going on here. So when you connect the power into the floppy port, it's feeding into the lines, the power lines, the plus 12 volts and plus 5 volt lines, right, on this. If you notice around here, there is no inductor or choke. This thing here. is what we're looking at. Now, one of the things that an inductor does, or a choke does, it resists voltage changes. Like if there's a spike, it will resist it and you know, make it not be so apparent. And same with filter capacitors. If there's any noise from the PSU, it will smoothen it. So all this, there's like smoothening circuitry and all this here. Now the power goes through them first and then goes into the power lines. Whereas over here, where the floppy port is, there is no such thing. It's just going straight into the lines. So it's just any spike can damage any of these, any sort of, you know, hiccup with the voltage. Now what actually got me was when I really hope I can find the footage. There was some issue with one of my hard drives which had all this footage in there. Yeah, I had not had the chance to take a backup yet. I was just about to actually, and it's all these stupid things seem to happen just as you're about to take a backup. I will see if any of my cameras has that footage, because I actually filmed, I was about to release a video about this. I filmed the Amiga's power light going up and down. Now I just explained this in a crude manner, with regards to the power going into the floppy port versus the actual power input port. I explained this in a crude manner, and I'm not going to go into technical details about this because I've got stuff to do here. I want to continue with this. I want to get this project done and use my Amiga 1200. Because I don't know if the camera is capturing it or not, but I can actually see the power light of the Amiga, and this is actually going to the power light of the Amiga, not just some voltage from anywhere. That's dancing up and down, as in like it's going bright and dim to the music. Now, as cool as that looks, it's not supposed to do that, and I'm not comfortable with it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and sort out this power supply and this power source and just make it cleaner in some sort of way. The issue with the modern ATX PSU having a minimum current load requirement, or else it'll be unstable, and going into the floppy drive port, the combination of that was too much of a risk for me. Yeah, there's too much of a chance it's gonna mess this 1200 up, and this is my favorite Amiga. It's my only Amiga 1200, and it's my go-to. I love it. I've always used it. Yeah, I don't want anything to happen to it, so I'm not comfortable with that. I went nuts everywhere, right, trying to find solutions to use a modern ATX power supply with this, or even stabilizing the voltages from it, right? And I was thinking regulators. I went high and low trying to look for regulators for this thing. I went, you know, looking at these even buck converters and things like this to see if it would be any good. I mean, I tested them, not on the Amiga itself, but on oscilloscopes and things like this. Yeah, I already had a few buck converters, thankfully, and I didn't like spend any money on them. Something struck me. One of the solutions that everyone's went through, there was one point that people went through this phase with regards in the Amiga community, are actually these, the Pico PSUs. Or this one is kind of like, it's not exactly Pico, but these that are meant to be for, if I'm correct, ITX computers. Using a normal 12 volt supply, high wattage one, and going into the motherboard here. However, what I can do is just use the 12 volts. I know this feels convoluted, right? 12 volt line of the modern ATX PSU. And this has regulators and all that already in there. And then what I can do, there we go. Amiga lines, voltage lines. And regulated, hopefully. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna do that now. Just, it's been too long, it's been too much. I want to use my Amiga now. Yeah, so I'm gonna make sure this is stable and everything, the Amiga likes it and everything is well, and then I will install this into the tower case today. Whose bright idea is it to have the power switch of these things on the back of the unit. I'm sorry, but it's just the most basic thing that... Whatever. Anyway. Okay, first things first, I'm gonna test this thing. And definitely not at 50 volts. Okay, 12 volts. Okay, moment of truth. Let's turn this on. Okay, so that's detecting there some current draw, which is why that's was turned on. And obviously this voltage going to that. Now let's measure this. Yep, minus 12 volts. Plus 12 volts. Plus 5 volts. And of course 3.3, which we're not going to use. Perfect. Okay, so I created a cable here, the Amiga squared in on one end and you know, just bare cables on the other. The cable itself is recycled from old Amiga power supplies. I'm gonna test it on my spare 500 there. Okay, so crunch time. Let's connect this to the Amiga 500 here and turn it on. There we go. Beautiful. It comes on. 780 milliamps. So when we load a disk in, wonderful. It loads. I recognize the pattern of loading, by the way, in a lot of discs and a lot of games. I hope I'm not the only one who does that. I'll be extra special. But yeah, this is working, and it's working beautifully, right? So now the next thing, I mean, it's working using the bench power supply, and so under test conditions, yeah, it works, but I want to take it through if I connect this to the 12 volt line of the ATX PSU. By the way, the ATX PSU, I'm not going to take all the peripherals, all the CD-ROM drives and hard drives and all that through this. This is only for the Amiga side of it. The rest of them, I'm going to take them, they directly go into the modern PSU, so, you know, it's not like it's all going through there and then straining that thing. It's just the stuff which is sensitive that I want to be regulated by that. The fact that this thing not only has regulators on the Pico board, but it has fuses on this thing, just in case, that makes me feel much better. Yes, you've caught me admiring the metallic bluey turquoise of the PCP. It's amongst my favorite shades of blue. Yeah, this, as I said, it was the instructions on the Eyetech Easy Tower itself that suggested to use the floppy port, because this was installed, this thing here is installed from them, this port here, and that is to go there with regards to the floppy thing, because you need the minus 12 volts to go into the center of the squared in. But we don't need that right now, so since we're going to do it the other way. Right, 12 volts. I need 12 volts from you. Now, I don't have, you know, a spare socket of this, so I've got a few of these wires, so I can just mod one of them and join it onto this thing here. So that's what I'll do. Connecting it to the yellow. Yellow one, make sure. Okay, done. Solid. I appreciate using that because of the weather outside. It's just warming my hands up. Okay, so I've got this connected to this now. Let's test it. Okay, it's turning, of course. Why wouldn't it? Alright, that works. Let's test the voltages again now. Yes, I'm paranoid about this. I test these things in a paranoid fashion. I don't want to risk making any sort of mistake. Okay, 12. Minus 12, even though it's more. And 5. It's all good. Though, minus 13.25. Why has it gone up? And why is it like... It feels too much. Okay, let's bring out the trusty 500, spare 500, and test it on this again. Okay, works. I'm just a little worried about that. Okay. When you connect it to the Amiga, it goes down to minus 11 volts. Yeah? So that's good. Don't have to worry too much about this. Let's check the other voltages while we're there. Yeah, 12.11. Fine. .9. Okay, fine. The voltages are perfectly fine. I know, I feel bad using one of my Amigas to test like this. I mean, to be honest, I'm fairly confident it's going to be fine. So, you know, it's alright. Feels weird using one of them slider switches to turn an Amiga on and off, to be honest. But, yeah. If anything, God forbid, happens with the Amiga 500, it's easier to repair than a 600 or a 1200. Because it's all through-hole components and, you know, it's just... And it's built more tough than an Amiga 600 or 1200, so I'm a bit more comfortable with it. And its build. Okay, so we've determined this is all good. This is all gonna work. Okay, so I connected everything up. The actual board, the PSU, and everything else. Let's just test it. Okay, good sign. We have power. Oh, hi. My setup, hello. Because I haven't seen this. I haven't turned my 1200 on since back when I did the 1200 Tower series. I've been using the 500 with the AK 500 Plus on that, and it's, you know, it's been I've been enjoying it, but I've been missing my setup. It's exactly everything as I wanted. It's just off. Do you know when you have like a specific setup, and this is it for me. Yes, okay, I can't help it. I'm getting excited. I've got my Amiga 1200 back again. So let's Okay, good. There's no flickering of that power light. Not at all. That's made me feel much happier. Because it would literally dance to the beat. The more... Let's put this down a second so I can explain. The more current draw the amplifier took, so if the amplifier, you had the beats going boof, boof, and it drew more current from the ATX PSU, that would make this go dimmer, so you could see it going dim to the beat. And it's like, yeah, as cool as that is to see, it's not what it's supposed to do, and yeah, it's not doing it now, and I'm happy. This takes me back, because I remember the night I wrote it, back in 1997. The incentive to get this working again is purely the fact that I miss using it, and I miss this setup of mine. Yes, my funky colors. I love them. A very special thank you to my top tier patrons: Rich Garbett, Axel Dominator, Jason Marison, Corey Ostman, Mark Bosak, and Monochrom Minako. Thank you all so much for your support. I really appreciate it.